2004. The world gathers in Athens, Greece for the 28th Summer Olympics. George W. Bush defeats John Kerry in the US presidential election, winning a second term. Locusts plague West Africa. The scandal around treatment of prisoners of war breaks at Abu Ghraib. Spain is rocked by terrorist attacks. A massive tsunami devastates Asia, and Martha Stewart is sentenced to prison. The Red Sox break an 86-year curse. The Patriots win their second Super Bowl in 3 years. The Tampa Bay Lightning win their first Stanley Cup. And the Pistons stun the Lakers in the NBA Finals. Lord of the Rings: Return of the King wins Best Picture. Luther Vandross wins Song of the Year for Dance with My Father. And we all got to learn the definition of wardrobe malfunction. 2004 was a reality check for the theme park world. The excesses from the turn of the century were officially over. Owners were shuffling their parks, or closing them down outright. And the industry was hit with some bad luck that would foreshadow problems to come. These are the events that changed the theme park industry from 2004. Not every story was good enough for this top 10. Here are the stories that missed the cut. And now for the top 10. In 1994, Zero opened Dragondobond in Germany. This would only cover 328 feet of track and hit a max speed of 18.6 miles per hour, but it would be the first new spinning coaster to open since 1950, back when the Virginia Reel was still a thing. Mock Rides, Reverchon, and Maurer would follow suit. Gerstlauer held back, but they were working on a design of their own. In 2004, they were ready to show it to the world. The first one would come to Camp Snoopy at the Mall of America, under the name Timberland Twister. A month later, a clone of this model opened at Worlds of Fun as Spinning Dragons. These would be different because riders would face each other, and the rate of spin would be determined by weight distribution. Six Flags caught on and bought 5 of these between 2005 and 2008, and although sales have cooled off in recent years, and the only one they've opened since 2016 was Shredder at American Dream, they've put 16 of these into parks around the world. Aside from the Eurofighter model, their spinning model has been their most popular over the last 18 years, helping to build the company's profile to what it is today. May 20th, 2004. The Grand National at Blackpool Pleasure Beach catches fire. An electrical fault in the lights on the roof caused the blaze, and it was no small deal. The station was gone, the trains were gone, and 2 rides nearby were also left with damage. When firefighters arrived, they used the water from Valhalla, the park's log flume, to put out the fire. It took 60 firefighters to get the job done, their task being made much more difficult by the ride itself, being made of wood, fueled by the grease and oil around the coaster. There were also strong winds pushing the flames around the park, a park that is known for cramming as many attractions as possible in a small space. The Alice in Wonderland building was damaged and closed down, and the Trauma Tower walkthrough attraction had some water damage, but that reopened after it dried out. Blackpool reopened the next day, but closed this area of the park, vowing to rebuild the coaster and reopen it within a couple months. October 28th, 2004. As promised, Grand National reopened 5 months after the blaze, sporting a new station and trains, and it was looking fresh and ready to celebrate its 70th birthday the next year. September 25th, 2004. Hershey Park announces a brand new, first-of-its-kind ride, the Free Falling Tower Coaster. This would be built by Interactive Rides for a price of $2 million and use the name Turbulence. It would stand 150 feet tall and have 750 feet of track, as riders would be lifted to the top and then wind down a series of hairpin turns. This was going to be built in the new Founders Circle, next to the carousel. December 10th, 2004. Hershey Park announced that they were suing Interactive Rides, citing breach of contract and fraudulent inducement. This was following the news that interactive rides increased their cost estimate by over $1 million, citing higher costs from their steel vendors. Interactive rides would countersue Hershey Park on the grounds that they did not make their first 2 production payments, and they did not provide adequate specifications, and they ended up unilaterally terminating the contract. It's likely the 2 parties settled out of court and never spoke to each other again, and turbulence remained just an idea left for the history books. 14 years later, Ride Engineer Switzerland would take up this model and open Wilde-Hilde at Schwaben Park in Germany, the first rollerball coaster. August 2nd, 2004. A judge issued an order to Alton Towers, telling them to limit the noise generated from the park. They had been having issues with the local residents, complaining the park impacts their quality of life. The 2 who filed the latest lawsuit were Stephen and Suzanne Roper. Their residence was just 100 yards from the park. Stephen Roper said, "If you live within, I would suggest, a mile or any more of Alton Towers, your windows literally shake, and if you go outside, the ground shakes." The lawsuit focused on Oblivion, the park's B&M dive coaster. The judge claimed the "don't look down" audio before the train dropped induced screaming. The screaming, plus the mechanical noise, was considered intrusive and a nuisance. The audio had to be removed, and the park would also have to limit their fireworks shows to 3 per year. These legal battles would continue over the years, the couple losing another case in 2007. This time, the park's lawyers cited World Health Organization guidelines, stating noise levels between 50 and 55 decibels were acceptable. And in 2011, the Ropers were aiming for the removal or relocation of some rides, as well as seeking damages from the park going back to 1998. In addition to having to keep their rides under the tree line, noise has been another major concern for Alton Towers over the last 2 decades. January 9th, 2003. Cedar Point announced the world's tallest and fastest coaster. Top Thrill Dragster would be an intimate accelerator coaster, the second of its kind, and it would double the size of the prototype that opened the year prior. For such a new model, it was an ambitious project, but the coaster opened on time for the 2003 season. However, the ride experienced a lot of problems with its hydraulic launch system and launch cable, including the cable coming loose less than a month after opening and causing days of downtime. In its second season, the problem would become a lot more serious. July 14th, 2004, 8:20 p.m. 4 people were struck by shards of metal during the launch. One of the metal cables had frayed, cutting the riders on their arms and face. There were no serious injuries, but they were treated at the park's first aid station, and 2 of them sought medical attention afterward. The ride had its share of problems during its first year of operation, but this was the first time that one of the incidents caused injuries. The ride would close until they could replace the cable. This would not be the last time that Top Thrill Dragster would cause injuries. 2 people were injured in 2016 when the launch cable detached, and in 2021, a guest waiting in line was seriously injured when a metal piece dislodged from the train and struck her. The ride has been shut down ever since, and we're waiting to hear what the future holds for one of the world's most powerful coasters. When Six Flags went on their bender at the turn of the century, adding major new coasters to all their parks, big and small, Six Flags New England got, perhaps, the best one of them all, Superman Ride of Steel. This intimate mega coaster features a 221-foot drop and over a mile of track, and it was universally hailed as one of the world's best coasters. In fact, in the 2003 Golden Ticket Awards, it was voted the #1 steel coaster. But amid the fanfare, the ride would take a dark turn. May 1st, 2004. A 55-year-old man was killed, being ejected from a seat at the end of the ride. The investigation showed the restraint would not close properly, and the ride-out failed to verify it prior to dispatch. The family also claimed the park should not have allowed him to ride due to his medical conditions, including cerebral palsy, but the park said the Americans with Disabilities Act forbids them from denying anyone to ride, as long as they can board without assistance. The focus of this accident quickly turned to the restraint. State officials claimed the T-bar was insufficient to keep the rider inside the car. The ride would reopen a month later, but now, there would be metal bars on either side of the rider's legs, and another bar across the rider's shins. This would make it impossible for a rider to escape the train. There would also be a new gauge to make sure the restraint reached a minimum closure point, and all the seatbelts were replaced to be the same size. Less than a week after the accident, the state of Massachusetts moved to ban T-bars, and when Superman Ride of Steel was rethemed as Bizarro in 2009, they introduced a larger U-shaped lap bar that is much more restrictive, and makes the ride much less comfortable. October 23rd, 2004. The Danish company, Lego, announces that 4 Legoland parks are up for sale. This included the original in Denmark, as well as the parks in England, Germany, and California. The parks had been proven to be unprofitable, as only the Danish park made a return on investment. As a toy company, Lego did not have the same resources of a major theme park chain, and this independent, family-owned company could not compete. This was not helped by the location of the 3 problematic parks, none of them located in a big tourist destination. Lego was hoping to find a buyer who could give the company a nice infusion of cash, and perhaps continue to promote the Lego brand while operating the park. Lucky for them, the timing was right to find the perfect buyer. July 13th, 2005. The Blackstone Group acquires the 4 Legoland parks for £375 million. Blackstone had just acquired Merlin Entertainments the month prior, and planned to combine the 2 businesses. As Lego owner Kjeld Kurt Christensen said, "It was extremely important to us that the new ownership was based on the true Lego values of playful learning and creative experiences of a high quality. And in Merlin Entertainments, we have found a very professional partner with whom we can really release the potential of Legoland parks. We have no doubt that, together, we will create a very strong player within the worldwide family attractions sector." Legoland has expanded a lot in the last 17 years, adding a park to Italy, New York, Florida, 4 in Asia, and have plans to add 5 more parks worldwide. December 7th, 1985. Australia's Wonderland opens its gates in New South Wales. This was part of the King's Entertainment Company, a chain that had been growing in North America ever since 1972. This included some of the staples of that chain, including the Bush Beast, a near clone of Wild Beast at Canada's Wonderland and Grizzly at King's Dominion, as well as Beastie, the junior wooden coaster popular in their existing parks, as well as Hanna-Barbera Land for the kids. When the parks of the King's Entertainment Company were sold to Viacom and became Paramount Parks in 1992, Australia's Wonderland was not included in that deal. Having only a minority share, it was sold to Australian investors. They turned around and sold the park to the Sunway Group in 1997, and over the next 7 years, they only added 1 ride. February 17th, 2004. The park, now known as Wonderland Sydney, announced that 2004 would be its final year, and once the season ended in April, that would end the park's 19-year run. The CEO blamed a host of outside factors, including terror attacks, global wars, diseases, the Asian financial crisis, and the 2003 brush fires for the park's consistent losses. The finger was pointed at everything except themselves. The other King's Entertainment parks would go on to become Cedar Fair parks in 2006, and they would continue to find success, but Wonderland was met with its early demise. Before the 2004 season kicked off, Six Flags launched its first national ad campaign in 7 years. Hank Salemi, Six Flags Senior VP of Marketing, said, "Our campaign research showed that today's families spend more time at work than ever before. They are overscheduled, overworked, and stressed out. And what families need the most, what they desire the most, is playtime together." A retro-style bus pulls into a neighborhood where everyone is doing chores. An old man steps out, looking very rickety. Then a speaker emerges from the bus. It starts blasting "We Like to Party" from the Venga Boys, and the old man starts dancing around, luring everyone into his bus for an awesome day at their local Six Flags park. Salemi said, "Six Flags is the solution to consumers' overwhelming need for relaxation and escape. Our new campaign shares the excitement of a day at Six Flags, giving everyone, parents included, the freedom to let loose and enjoy the benefits of playtime." Whether people were entertained by it or mocked it, that song and that old man became a cultural icon tied to the chain.
No, I was referring more to the fact that he's the guy from the Six Flags commercials.
She also loves those ads for Six Flags with the old guy. Got it.
Six Flags New England even named their new coaster after Mr. Six in 2005. However, when Daniel Snyder took over in 2005, he killed off Mr. Six and the ad campaign, but evidence of Mr. Six remained in the parks and on the merchandise. In 2009, he made a comeback in the More Flags, More Fun commercials, and even had his own spots with his miniature sidekick, Little Six. Mr. Six was such a unique and bizarre ad campaign. It had a lasting impact on the industry that still lives on to this day. behind the happy facade of Mr. Six. By 2004, Six Flags was facing some serious problems. Their spending spree over the last 5 years had created a mountain of debt, and it was time to pay the piper. March 10th, 2004. Six Flags sells their European parks to raise some cash. This included Six Flags Holland, Six Flags Belgium, and Warner Bros. Park Madrid. April 8th, 2004. Six Flags sells Worlds of Adventure to Cedar Fair, with the massive cost of operating that super park being too much to compete with Cedar Point. In July, they reported their attendance was down 4.1% from the prior year. CEO Kieran Burke blamed the weather and fewer operating days, but that story didn't fly with the chain's top investors. August 31st, 2004. Bill Gates and Daniel Snyder filed documents with the US SEC to seek representation on the company's board, citing the drop in attendance, poor customer reviews, and the crushing debt. This would start a chain of events that would end with the company filing for bankruptcy in 2009, the crescendo of a story that started in 2004, a time when, despite Mr. Six's tagline, "It's playtime," the Six Flags party from the last 5 years was over. That's all for this episode. Let me know what you think about these stories, and if there's anything that I left off that should have been included. Also, let me know of any coaster memories you have from 2004. For me, it was the year I officially left the coaster world. I was working my second year at Magic Mountain, but when I went to Knott's at the end of the year, saw their brand new B&M invert Silver Bullet, and had no idea that it even existed, I knew I was officially no longer an enthusiast. It wouldn't be until 2015 that I would finally come back into the game. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like, and if you're new here and love coasters, please consider giving me a sub. I have a playlist for other years in this series. Also, check out my links below for my Discord server, and my second channel where I post copyright-free off-ride footage, and my baseball channel if you think baseball is awesome like I do. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.